which the Father had put in his own power. Eh? You hear that? Feel the vibes. Wait here upon the Lord. You understand? I say, when will you restore again the kingdom to Israel? Restore again, yes, the kingdom restore. We say, yes, the kingdom to Israel. When will you restore again, yes, the kingdom to Israel? Restore the kingdom again, restore. We say, yes, the kingdom to Israel. Yo, makes sense to me. That's how we relate to the Israelites, because the kingdom on the level. Yeah. All praises to the Most High.
Yeah. Shalom, shalom.
You know the apostles them asked the Messiah a question in Acts 1 and verse 6.
Shalom, shalom, brethren. What up, what up?
They asked of him saying,
Yeah.
will thou at this time restore again the kingdom to
What's
Israel?
going on out there, man? How life, how life?
And he said unto them, it is not for you
Make sure you check out SoundCloud, man. Check out the music.
in his own power. Eh? You hear that? Feel the vibes.
Feel the vibes.
Wait here upon the Lord.
Yeah.
You understand? I say, when will you restore again the kingdom to Israel? Restore again, yes, the kingdom restore. We say, yes, the kingdom to Israel. When will you restore again, yes, the kingdom to Israel? Restore the kingdom again, restore. We say, yes, the kingdom to Israel. Yo, makes sense to me. That's how we relate to the Israelites, because the kingdom on the level.
But you just watch the best and they say.
When you check the side,
Timeline and prophecies. You need to be on this side and not them other guys.
them what is my yo, that's watch me close.
Yeah.
I'll show you my that's watch
Yo, what we talking about today? We're talking about Pentecost. Pentecost, Pentecost. Listen, my youth, and just play on. Like them say on. But guess what? That's how we pray upon Sabbath day Eve. Pray upon Sabbath day Eve. The Bible say, what's up, what's up? Waiting for a few more people to come in, then I'm going to start. How was the week, man? How was the week? Hopefully our week was good. That's all you need. Here's your king. Yes, here's your king. Yes, here's your king. Bloodline. That's all you need. Yes, here's your king. Yes, here's your king. Yes, here's your king. Mr. Bloodline. That's all you need. Yes, here's your king. Release the thing. Release the thing. I got a rocket launch. Got up. Release the thing. Got the. Hey. Big up Buckley Massive. You don't know. What that in the house? Alright, I'm gonna start it. Yo, y'all remember to check out that this single right here. You know, it's on my SoundCloud. And man, I would love to get the support. You feel me? So feel free, man. Go at the top in my bio and see the link. And then with the link, you can see Facebook, Instagram, and also the book. All right, 12 tribes, culture, meditation, precepts. All right, 12 tribes, culture, meditation, and precepts. All right. So yeah, man. I guess I'm just gonna start. This video will be on the YouTube. I'm gonna download it and bring it to YouTube. But yeah, I just definitely wanted to go over Pentecost, all right, because that's one of the high holy days that we as Israelites, would keep in our captivity and when we were in Jerusalem, all right. So let's go to Tobit, all right. Tobit chapter 2. Tobit, as you know, Tobit was one of the books that was a part of the King James Version before it was taken out by the Protestants, all right? And Tobit was from the tribe of Naphtali, and this is just going into, you know, to show that we did keep the feast days in Jerusalem and while we were in captivity, all right? So Pentecost is known as Feast of Harvest. All right, it's known as Feast of Weeks. All right, and it's known as Days of First Fruits. Okay, so this is totally different from how white supremacy Christianity practice it. We are basically practicing it based upon true Israelite biblical laws. And remember, these laws is what's going to give us protection in these last days where you see all this wickedness, man. As you see the police out here, they're not treating us the same. They're definitely not treating us the same as the Asians or as the so-called Edomites or even as the so-called East Indians, which are Elamites. All right, Elamites or Persians or Arabs. So you could see a clear difference in how they deal with us because why? We are the children of Israel. You black Latinos and Native Americans. Okay. So yeah, man, I just want to give big shout out, all praises to the Most High and His Son, Christ the King, and to the 12 tribes scattered. Greetings. This is Brother Joachim. All right, Joachim Javelin. All right. And to the 12 tribes scattered, greetings, man. Thank you guys for listening. As I say, I'm going to upload this to my YouTube. And so, you can have the understanding for later in the week or in the future. All right. So let me just give you the first example. So in Tobit, all right, Tobit chapter 2 and verse 1. When I was come again, and my wife Anna was restored unto me, with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost, which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks, there was a good dinner prepared me, in which I sat down to eat. Okay, so this is one of the first examples that I'm going to right now of Pentecost. Now, Pentecost is a Greek name for 50, the number 50. All right, 50. So what does okay? After Passover, okay, we're supposed to so after Passover, you got to keep in mind you got to get ready for the next high holy day coming up. So at the end of those 7 days, actually at the end of those 8 days, then you count 7 Sabbaths. Okay, we had Passover in March. I think it was like around March 27th. And it went all the way to the 28th. I'm sorry. It went all the way to, let's go. Let's pull it up. From March 27th. All right. And I think the last day was April 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So basically, when we had Passover, the end of Passover, all right, that weekend, you count 7 more Saturdays, 7 more Sabbaths. That would bring you to 50. All right? And then that's when you would celebrate the Feast of Pentecost. Okay? Um, Let me go to the Bible dictionary. The Bible dictionary. This is what it says about Pentecost. The word derives from the Greek for the 50th day. It was the Jewish feast of weeks. Exodus 34 and 22. Deuteronomy 16:9-11. Okay? Variously called the Feast of Harvest. Exodus 23:16. Or the Day of First Fruits. All right? Numbers 28:26, which fell on the 50th day after the feast of Passover. So our high holidays basically, start in spring. All right, it begins at the beginning of the year, which is Passover during spring, and then the next high holiday after that would be Pentecost. All right, shalom, shalom, family. So this is what we're going to meditate on today, because people don't realize that. Guess what? You can keep these feasts in your captivity. All right. Actually, let's bring that out. Let's go to Judges 5 and 11. Judges 5 and 11. Okay. Judges 5 and 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of joined water, which is basically the places of our captivity, where we got to be working hard as hell, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gate. So we're going to be keeping the commandments. We're going to be keeping these high holy days in our captivity year after year. And right now, most of Israel that is in the top kingdom in the world to this day, all right, we are basically practicing it. We are finding out who we are as Israelites. Judah was going to be the first tribe to find out that they are the Israelites, and Judah would basically teach us. Okay? So now we're finding out our holidays. Our holidays are not Halloween. Those are Greek. Okay? All the holidays that we commemorate right now in this captivity commemorate white supremacy accomplishments, all right, and customs and achievements. Okay? Now, what they would do, they would still use the same names that we originated, but what they would do, they would put a twist to it. Some of these holidays, they will only bring it for one day, okay, like Christmas. We're not supposed to keep Christmas, but instead of Christmas, we had Hanukkah, and Hanukkah was more than one day. So you could see that the religions of today, they basically are not made to honor God, not the God of this Bible, but the God that they set up, the gods that they revere, all right, which are really idols. All right. So we just read Tobit chapter 1. We just read Judges. All right. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the place of joined water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts. Another example. Watch this. When you go to Tobit now, Tobit chapter 1, it shows you that we did keep the high holy days in our captivity, because when Tobit, his tribe Naphtali went into captivity, okay, they kept the high holy days. Well, he was one of the ones that deliberately went out his way to keep the laws. Watch this in Tobit chapter 1, verse 1. The book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, and the son of Aniel, the son of Aduel, the son of Gabiel, of the seed of Aziel, of the tribe of Naphtali. All right, who in the time of Enemeneser, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thebes, which is at the right hand of the city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee, above Asher. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the ways of truth and justice, and I did many alms deed to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. And when I was in mine own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father, fell from the house of Jerusalem, because everybody know between the 12 tribes you had the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, and the northern kingdom, they fell away. All right. Verse 4. And when I was in my own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribes of Naphtali my father fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the inhabitants of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages. All right. Now all the tribes which together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal. So that was one of the things they did. We stopped keeping the high holy days, and we kept the high holy days of the nations. All right, because we were kind of embarrassed, just like right now, to keep the high holy days of the Most High over the holidays of the other nations. All right, because the times that they get to shop, and just how the holidays are set up. Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Blah, 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 blah. All right. I wanted to get to the point where. All right. Verse 6. But I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast. So it's showing you that Tobias, he was one of them out of his tribe that said, you know what, I'm not going to worship Baal, which was a heifer. That heifer, that's basically what you would see down in Wall Street in New York. Okay, that's an example. Because the heathens, they search out the old gods and they decide to worship them. So when you hear these nations say there's no God, believe me, man, they know there's a one true God, but they decide to worship these fake gods, these new gods that newly came up, all right, which are damn devils. Verse 6. But I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenths of increase, which was the first shorn, and them gave I at the altar to the priests, the children of Aaron. The first 10 part of all increase I gave to the sons of Aaron, who ministered at Jerusalem. Another 10 part I sold away, and went and spent it every year at Jerusalem. All right. So that's an example of us keeping the laws. All right. And we were always, expected to keep and honor these high holy days, because guess what? If you say you want to be in heaven, the heaven, at least what the Bible is talking about, is going to be here on earth. It's not going to be up in the sky. So when we rehearse the righteous acts, we are rehearsing the righteous acts. How we're going to be living and the holidays we're going to be keeping in heaven here on earth. So people get confused because they don't really know that heaven is rulership. All right? Each nation has had a chance to rule the planet. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean that the nations that were ruling at the time, the other nations, they wasn't, wealthy and well off. It was just meaning that, guess what? There was one particular race, one particular nation that, had an impact in the world. They could defend themselves. They could basically defeat any other nation based upon their military capability, all right, and just the favor from the Most High. Now we went away from God's laws, so He decided one of the Most High MO is to the nations that were our enemies. The Most High made sure that they would conquer us. So this is where we are right now. So when you tell a Christian, guess what? We're not going to be delivered from ghosts and spirits. We're going to be delivered from the nations. As you can see, things are getting heated. All right, you got the problems right now with Israel and Palestine. Even here in America, they're killing us in the streets. These things were prophesied that they would kill the prophets, that they would kill the Israelites in the streets. The two kingdoms, Israel and Judah. Okay? So these are the things that you're going to be learning year after year. And the more you hear it, you may not pay attention right now. But guess what? Something is going to happen. You're going to have a lot of pain in your life. There's going to be a lot of death, a lot of destruction. And guess what? As simple as you think this is, as simple and foolish as you think this is, you will return to the Most High. Because guess what? Everything, all options are going to be gone. And you're going to be like, yo, what else can we do? And at that point, you're going to remember, we got to keep back, you got to get back to the law of the Most High. All right? So, let's see if I missed anything else. Bam, 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 bam. I'm going to keep reading to verse 9. All right, so he just went down that, guess what? He still kept the feast, even though his tribe, Naphtali, they were worshiping Baal. Verse 9. Furthermore, when I was come to age of a man, I married Anna of mine own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, so you see, we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat the bread of the Gentiles, meaning they were doing the wickedness, the wicked customs of the Gentiles because they wanted to fit in. All right? But I kept myself from eating because I remember God with all my heart. All right? So that's where you see, guess what? Even though he was taking captives, he stayed mindful of the things that the Most High wanted. All right? Who? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who we worship. All right? And mind you, no Israelite camp out here or any hate groups. Okay? No Israelite is commanded, okay, to take up arms. No Israelite is commanded to basically do anything that will go against the government. That is not taught in the Bible. Okay? All we're supposed to do is keep the commandments, and the Most High say if we keep the commandments, he will make sure that our enemies will have compassion. So instead of marching in the street, instead of doing all these things that they're doing out here, guess what? All we got to do is stick to the Most High program, and he's going to fight for us because that's what he want to do. There will be another great Passover bigger than the one Moses did, because Moses got his shine to deliver us. The next man in line to get his shine is Christ the King. He's coming back to take down all the kingdoms, take down white supremacy, take down Rome, take down the beast, take down 666, take down the Pope, take down all the wicked, abominational, pagan customs. All that will be crushed. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. His will be done. All right? All right. So from there, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16. How y'all doing out there though, man? You know, I'm doing my little pod. Deuteronomy chapter 16. I'm going to try to make it quick. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 9. Watch this. 7 weeks thou number, so 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Remember I told you after the Sabbath of the Passover, we're supposed to count 7 weeks. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 week from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto the Lord thy God with a tribute of a free will offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God, according as the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. Now, because we're in basically we don't keep the laws of the temple no more. All right, but because we're keeping the commandments, that is offering enough. All right, you read that in Romans 12. All right, let me go there. Romans 12, chapter 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that he presents your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that he may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. All right? So that is what we do. All right? We keep the laws of the Most High, we keep His will, and the Most High is going to protect us. Okay? Let's see. Romans chapter 7 and verse 12, because it says what is good. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, just and good. All right? Wherefore the law is holy, the commandment holy, just and good. All right? Let's see. I'm going to read also Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things are written before time were written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures we might have hope. All right? I'm going to go read another one. Watch this. All right. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 35. He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. So remember I told you, we don't keep the sacrificial laws, the laws dealing with the temple. Instead of the sacrifices, we basically keep the laws. All right? Ecclesiasticus chapter 35. Watch this. He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. He that taketh heed unto the commandments offereth a peace offering. All right? So when you hear Christians say, oh man, we can't keep the law, guess what? They're thinking about the law of sacrifice. That is not what the Bible is talking about. Okay? Let me get one more. Watch this. Let's see. All right. Well, you got the point. All right. I brought up the scripture. All right. In Ecclesiasticus chapter 35, he that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. So I went there to show, okay, that we were not ordained right now to keep the laws dealing with the temple, okay, but the laws, in general, honor your mother and your father, thou shalt not kill. These things, we still got to honor them, we still got to keep them, okay. So let me go ahead and read again Deuteronomy chapter 16, all right, and it says, 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee, beginning to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks. All right, remember the topic of today is Pentecost. Another name for Pentecost is Feast of Weeks unto the Lord, with a tribute of free will offering of thine hand. So of course, right now, we don't have no big agricultural economy in Israel. All right, we are in the land of our captivity. So that's why when I went to Ecclesiasticus, it shows that he that keepeth the law giveth offerings enough. Okay, let's jump down to verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, in the Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost, and in the Feast of Tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. So, of course, when you congregate, when you go amongst your brothers, when we have these feast days, you don't come empty handed. Okay? You bring food, you bring drink, all right? You bring water, things that we're going to need. All right? I'll bring a gift and bless somebody that you know needs help. Okay? Let's jump to, let's see here. Watch this. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. Keep therefore and do them. Actually, let me read up to 5. Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them. This is what the Bible teach. This is what the Israelites teach. We don't teach religion. It's simple. You got a list of laws, you just keep them. That's it. For therefore do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So this is another example that right now, in this present time, we are to gather the 12 tribes of Israel and teach them these laws. Afterwards, when Christ comes, then is when we're going to teach the other nations. Okay, but for right now, we are supposed to keep the laws to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed, stop the pain, stop the suffering. That is first priority. People get emotional when you hear, oh, we're the only ones that could be Israel. We're the only ones to keep the commandments. Guess what? Yes, that is true for right now, because we are the brokenhearted. We are the captivity. We are the ones at the bottom. Once we learn this gift that the Most High give us, then we'll be able to teach the other nations. Outside of that, we got to focus on our people. Yes, they call us niggers. Yes, we're jigaboos. We're nobodies. They say we're lazy. All right? But when you check it out, our nation is the one nation that built up each superpower nation. Every time we were the slaves to these superpower nations, that particular nation became the top nation, the top superpower on the planet. Right now, we have been in captivity, all right, ever since the transatlantic slave trade, going back before that, you know, the Babylonian times, the Syrians, the Egyptians. We were the ones with the resume of being slaves in the earth. And the Bible is about us being delivered from our captivity. No matter if we live in, how we live in, yes, some of us are going to be in dignitary places in the government, just like when Daniel was around. All right? We were in captivity. But guess what? During our captivities, the Most High always had compassion on us, and He set up one of us, He set up many prophets to where we could learn and apply God's laws, and through us applying God's laws, He will make our captivity a little bit more bearable, a little bit more comfortable. He would make sure if we keep the commandments, He would make sure that our oppressors have compassion upon us. All right? Right now we're getting killed in the streets because nobody's keeping Pentecost, nobody's keeping Passover, nobody's keeping Feast of Tabernacles. Only a small remnant of Israelites in the world at this present time is keeping those high holy days. All right? Let's see. Go to Leviticus chapter 23. So you got the point just now in Deuteronomy chapter 4. All right? Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. All right? Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. So the nations must have a time of a few span of a few years to see that, look, oh my God, these guys are really smart. These guys have wisdom. These guys have a lot of understanding. All right? Then they will stop looking at us as second class citizen and as the bottom of all nations. That's how we are seen right now in the world. All right? So it says, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great? So it's making a stipulation and a separation. For what nation is there so great? Who had God so nigh unto him? There's none other than us. As the Lord our God is in all things. You do not choose a God must choose you. You do not choose a God must choose you. Okay? For what nation is there so great who had God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that had statutes and judgment so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligent, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. So that's the program of the Most High. The Most High is about to teach us laws and commandments, but there's a bigger program. Because what we want as Israelites is immortality. We want to never die. The little span of years that we have is small compared to eternity. This is what we had so far between from Adam until now, and then this is eternity. So you got this compared to this. All right, and the Most High say, yo, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard what the Most High have planned for us. So that's why we got to be diligent. That's why when you fall, you got to get back up. And we don't want to be Muslims. We don't want to be Buddhists. We don't want to be Sikhs. We don't want to be Jehovah's Witness. We don't want to be Catholic, Anglican. We want to be Israelites. Israelites is a nationality. That's why they change our names, all right? So we would forget who we were in the Bible. All right. Let's see from there. I'm going to go to Leviticus 23. Leviticus. 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 Messiah. Leviticus 23, verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaves of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete, even unto the morrow. After the Sabbath, after the 7th Sabbath, shall he number 50 days, and he shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. All right, so again, I went over the meat offering, of course, that would be pertaining to the temple. Right now, keeping the laws, honor your mother and father, thou shalt not kill, keep the Sabbath day. Those are the laws that we still keep today, instead of the sacrificial laws, instead of the laws dealing with the temple. This is where the Christians them get confused. They are happy. Oh, we don't got to keep no laws. Oh, yeah. Christ done away. It was only the laws of sacrifice, dealing with blood sacrifice. You still had to make sure you don't deal with your neighbor's wife. You still got to make sure that, guess what, when a man is talking, you hush. You don't interrupt a man in his speech. Okay? There's laws about if you find somebody's possession, you got to give it back to them. These are the things that we still do. And when we do these things in the sight of the nation, they're going to say, wow, this is an understanding people. All right, from there, I'm going to go to, let's see, Acts chapter 2. Acts chapter 2. Watch this. Now, we all grew up in Christianity, and we knew, some of us knew that how some people was acting in church that wasn't really too godly, and you had to really scratch your head. All right. But let me just go through these and make sure you get the understanding. All right. So Acts chapter 2. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. All right. Remember now, you got to remember the law says 3 times a year all males must come to Jerusalem. So this is one of the high holidays that we would come together. Look, the Israelites had to come from all the nations we were, because we didn't just live in Jerusalem. Of course, just like right now, if you have a lot of money, guess what? You can live in Italy if you want for 6 months and come back home. You can live wherever. But wherever you decided to live as an Israelite, you know for a fact you got to get ready, get your stuff packing, because 3 times out that year, you had to go to Jerusalem to the temple. Any other high holiday you could keep in your land. If we were in captivity, we would just have to stay there. But this is just to show that, guess what? We did keep the Passover. We did keep Feast of Pentecost. Feast of First Fruits. All right? Let me read it again. Acts chapter 2. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues, like as of fire, and sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. Now, in Christianity, they got people believing that when the Holy Spirit got on them, they were talking gibberish. They were talking things that, they were just making up. Like how you're here right now in Christian church, you hear some people say, no, that's not real language. What the Bible is talking about, we're going to understand. Watch this. So it says in verse 3, and there appeared unto them cloven tongues, like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. This was not Chinese, this was not Japanese, this was not Edomites, this was not the Egyptians. These were just Commonwealth, home-born Israelites, all right? Or Israelites that were born outside of Israel, but their parents knew that, guess what? Every year, all the males had to come back to Jerusalem and worship 3 times a year on these specific holidays. All right? It says, now, when this, verse 5, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men. So the people who was in the room, And they were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noise abroad, and the multitude came together, they were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. Own language. It was not gibberish. It was not the no. If you were an Israelite living in Spain at the time and you came to Jerusalem, all right, you would hear the brothers in Jerusalem speak Spanish or speak Latin. If you were coming from, let's say, India, I think they speak Sikh or whatever. All right. When you come to Jerusalem now, the brothers in Jerusalem, we will end up speaking your language, knowing that we never learned your language. Okay. So this was a point to where it was something blessed that we understood each other, because why? Remember the last time that everybody was able to speak and understood what your brother was saying was during the Tower of Babel, before the Tower of Babel, when we decided to come together to make that well, not we, but Nimrod and the people, they decided to basically build a tower, and the Most High confounded the nations, for confounded the languages. Okay? So here in Acts, you heard other brothers and sisters speaking your language fluently. Whatever you would speak, and I didn't know it before, I would speak it fluently. That is what it's talking about. All right? Now when this was noise abroad, was noise abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. Own language, not what you hear on TBN, not what you hear at these fake white supremacy Christianity churches. They're just making up stuff. You would know if the person is speaking French, if the person was speaking Latin, Dutch, all right, Japanese, Korean, wherever we were living. We knew the language. So when we came to Jerusalem now and we were conversing with our brothers and sisters, we were amazed that they were speaking the same languages as us, vice versa. We knew each Israelite language of their dwelling. Wherever they were living, we could speak to them. Okay? So of course, other brothers and sisters knew how to speak Hebrew. But the point is that they were not speaking Hebrew. They were speaking the languages of the other Israelites of other lands. All right. From there, I'm going to go to Maccabees, 2nd Maccabees. This is another example of us keeping the Feast of Pentecost, 2nd Maccabees, chapter 12. 2nd Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 31. 2nd Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 31. They gave them thanks, desiring them to be friendly still unto them, and so they came to Jerusalem. The feast of the weeks approaching, and after the feast, called Pentecost, they went forth against Gorgias, the governor of Idumea. So this was around wartime, and Pentecost was coming up, but we couldn't really even enjoy it fully, because we know we had to be prepared mentally to go to fight, because guess what? The Idumeans, the so-called Edomites, okay, they were trying to conquer us. They were trying to take over. This was the beginning of white supremacy in the earth. Okay, remember Alexander the Great? Alexander the Great conquered the dark nations. You cannot be great in the world if you did not fight and defeat the baddest mofos on the planet. That's us. All right? Shalom, sis. Shalom. Happy Pentecost. Just going over the history. All right? So, in verse 31, this is Maccabees chapter 12. Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 31. And they gave them thanks, desiring to be friends, still unto them. And so they came to Jerusalem, the feast of weeks approaching. And after the feast, called Pentecost, they went forth against Gorgias, the governor of Idumea. So we're celebrating and we are honoring Pentecost. The other name for Pentecost is Feast of Weeks, Days of First Fruits, all right, and Feast of Harvest. Okay? So you got to remember that. We got to remember to teach it to our kids. Remember the high holy days versus the pagan holidays that they got set up in this system to keep white supremacy, Christianity going. The Bible is not about white supremacy Christianity. The Bible is about the Israelites, the captivity, remembering who we are and start keeping God's laws. I'm going to jump to Numbers now. Numbers 28. All right, write these verses down. As I said, every year we got to go over these. Just like how we went over all the other pagan holidays while we were kids. Guess what? While we were kids, we didn't remember who we were. I mean, while we were kids, we never knew that we were Israelites. So, guess what? Our parents just did whatever else that they seen everybody else do. Okay? Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day. All right? But what about our high holy days that everybody know that we're going to be keeping in heaven? If you say you want to be in heaven and you don't keep the holidays that we're going to keep in heaven, what's the point? Because the Most High say we have to rehearse the righteous acts. And how we rehearse them, we got to do them. We're not going to be perfect, but you must have an interest. You must actually try to go out your way to keep the commandments and to keep these laws. All right? All right, so that was Deuteronomy. No, Numbers. I said I was going to go to Numbers. Numbers chapter 28, right? Numbers chapter 28 and verse 26. Also, actually, let me read from verse. Let me see. I'm going to read from verse 25. And on the seventh day ye shall have an holy convocation. Read that again. And on the seventh day ye shall have a holy convocation. He shall do no servile work. Also in the day of the first fruits, when he bring a new meat offering unto the Lord after your weeks be out, he shall have an holy convocation. He shall do no servile work. So there's high holy days where we're supposed to just chill, enjoy life, eat, talk to brothers and sisters, and enjoy ourselves, man. What's hard with that? That ain't hard. So we got to remember so we could teach other brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, the commandments and what's important. Let's jump back to Acts. Because remember, we read Acts showing you the day of Pentecost that the Most High basically put the Holy Spirit on us, and you heard brothers and sisters speaking. You heard brothers speaking in other tongues, other languages. Okay? The new Christianity that we all grew up on, they have you believing that we're going to be saying yabba dabba do, yabba dabba do, hababa shai. That's how they think that tongues are supposed to be. And it's foolish now. Even when you heard it back then, when as a kid, you were like, what the hell? You know, are they serious? But, you know, you just stay in your place. You didn't ask no questions. You just like, all right. I guess one of these days it will be my turn and I'll end up saying some craziness. Some nah, man. Oh, boy. All right. So this is an example of Paul keeping Pentecost. Acts chapter 20 and verse 16. For when Paul had determined to sail by Ephesus, because he would not spend the time in Asia, for he hasted, if it were possible for him to be at Jerusalem the day of Pentecost. So that's another example of one of the elders in Israel keeping Pentecost. Okay? And it didn't really require you to have like hundreds of people. You know, the Most High said, where two or more are gathered, that's where I am, you know? All right. From there, I'm going to jump to Exodus. Exodus chapter 34. Exodus chapter 34, man. Watch this. Watch this. Exodus chapter 34 and verse 22. I'm going to start from verse 21. 6 days thou shalt work, but on the seventh day thou shalt rest. In earing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and of the feast of ingathering at the year's end. Then it says, thrice in the year shall all your men, children, appear before the Lord God, the God of Israel. All right? So that was the command. That was the command that Most High give us. All right? From there, let's see. Let's go to Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. 1 Corinthians. Yeah. How y'all doing, man? It's a beautiful day out here. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19. All right. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Because you see what's going on right now. The nations, them in a rage. You know, that's the Most High doing it. Because of what they did to the Israelites. The Most High going to make sure that they, you know what I mean, go through much tribulation. Especially for the nations that say that they are us. If you say that you're an Israelite, just know that you're going to get the oppression and the calamities that we are enduring. So the nation that claim that they are us, right now they're in war, man. Right now you see Israel and Palestine, they're going at it. Because why? That is our land. That's not their land. The Bible been always about land dispute. All right? The nations right now that are in rulership, living lavishly, they know the history, but they decide that they're not going to let us know who we are. Past generations know who we are, but now you have a lot of people that do archaeological digs. All right, they study history, they study the skulls of these the slaves, and they could tell you that guess what? These people were actually Negro. They were Negroid. And they had a different distinction than the Egyptians. They know this. They got this documented in the Smithsonian. So don't have them fool you. All right? For it says, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. All right? And again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. Therefore let no man glory in men, for all things are yours. Okay? Let's go from there to Isaiah. No, Isaiah 29. Watch this. Isaiah 29. Is that what I want? All right. So what you're gonna see, the Most High is putting us and setting us back in order. That's why you see young men like me. That's why you see brothers on the street. That's why you see Israelites. That's why you hear more about the Passover from minorities. That's why you hear more about Pentecost from minorities, because the Most High is doing a marvelous work in the earth. All praises to the Most High and His Son, Christ the King. All right. Isaiah chapter 29 and verse, let's see, 14. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. Shall be hid. All right, let me read that again. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. So it's talking about these nations. The nations who, they thought they could keep us away from our inheritance that God gave us because He didn't choose them. All right? They deliberately made sure that the black Latinos and Native Americans did not know that we have to keep Passover, that we have to keep Pentecost, that we have to keep the other high holy days. That's when the Most High would start fighting for us. That's when the Most High would make sure that the nations have compassion upon us. All right? Because right now you see it's getting bad again. We had a few years of, it's been okay. I mean, all them things were happening, but because we didn't have cameras, I mean, nobody really knew. But now, the Most High is exposing it. All right? So we really do got to give thanks and praise to the Most High and make sure that we honor God, man. Jump back to Judges, because the reason why we are keeping these high holy days, because the Most High want us to rehearse what we are going to be doing in the kingdom of heaven when it comes here on earth. All right, verse 11, Judges chapter 5 and verse 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of His villages in Israel. All right, then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates. So that's that second Passover that's prophesied to happen. Yes, there will be a second Passover, guys. That's what the Israelites are praying for. Because we know that once World War III jumps off, okay, these guys are gonna not care how and when they try to hurt Babylon the Great. And we're gonna be here. A lot of us are gonna still be here. And at that point, the Most High is going to make sure He delivers us. That's the faith that we must have. He's going to deliver us from our enemies. Okay? Because all nations, they are realizing how hard and how strong America in general is going out their way to push homosexuality, to push paganism, to push all the holidays that don't have nothing to do with the God of the Bible. The holidays that they commemorate are to commemorate pagan gods, Egyptian gods, the Greek gods, the East Indian gods. Okay? They observe Buddha. No, it's only one God. All the gods of the nation are idols. Okay? Thus saith the Lord. So we have a whole different program going on. The Most High is waking us up, and the Most High wants us to make sure that we keep His commandments, man. Even if you think it's hard, it's a process, because you're not going to just find out about this today, and the next thing you know, you're keeping everything perfect. No, that's not how it works. It's a process, and just like a kid grows, learning how to walk, learning how to talk, that's the same way. All right. Let's see if I left anything out. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4 again. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Close it out. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. All right. But ye that did cleave, verse 6. Keep therefore and do them. Deuteronomy chapter 4, I'm going to start from verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Then the Bible asks, for what nation is so great? Of course, the Most High made all the nations, but it's asking you, for what one nation? For what nation is so great? Who had God so nigh unto them? We had God close to us. As the Lord our God is in all things, that we call upon him for. And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligent, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen. We've seen the Most High destroyed nations for us while we're in captivity, man. What? Lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they may live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And he came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. He heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only he heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. Shalom. Brethren, sisters, yo, happy Sabbath, happy Pentecost. Guess what? Keep reading, meditating, bless somebody that you know is keeping the laws, buy somebody a gift, give somebody, you know what I mean, a bottle of wine. Just make somebody happy. Do something for somebody. Donate money to any Israelite group that you see fit, because guess what? We don't have the agriculture economy to basically give fruits and vegetables to others, because guess what? Eating is surviving. All right? So guess what? You would use your money, buy a gift for somebody, or if you have something nice, you bless somebody. If you have something rare, yo, you go out your way and bless another Israelite. If you bless Israel, you will be blessed. If you curse Israel, you will be cursed. Woe to the nations and the bloody city. Shalom. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.